Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today at the 2022 Women in Music Summit. Women in Music is a 501c3 nonprofit organization committed to educating, advancing, and empowering women in the music business. We are so excited and honored today to bring you our keynote from Atlantic and Arthouse recording artist GAYLE, whose hit song ABCDEFU is topping the charts, and our moderator, the esteemed Shirley Halperin, executive music editor at Variety. Thank you so much for being here and enjoy.
GAYLE, it is so nice to meet you. I'm such a fan of your song and your story, and I'm just thrilled that we can share it here today with the Women in Music participants. So thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
A thrill. I wanted to just start off with a question that I often ask, new singers. It's actually funny because Cara DioGuardi is obviously one of the people who helped you in your career tremendously. And I used to cover American Idol like religiously. And one of the things that I used to do to get to know the contestants really quickly is ask them, is there a song or an album that changed your life or that made you want to be a singer? And it kind of is a great way to just sort of understand where someone is coming from in a really sort of like encapsulated way. So I want to ask you as well, is there a song or an album that made you want to be a songwriter and a singer?
Oh, for sure. I would probably say I never loved a man the way that I loved you. Um,
Aretha?
Aretha was literally the reason why I started doing music when I was 7. I originally learned about Ella Fitzgerald in music class, and so I came home to my mom and I was just scatting all the time. And my mother had no idea what I was doing. And like this poor woman, because I'd just be like in restaurants scatting, and any like family meal, I'd be scatting. And my mom's like, okay, I need to show you other music. So you're not just doing that all of the time. And because I was already kind of starting in the lane of being like inspired by Ella Fitzgerald, she then showed me like Nina Simone and Joss Stone. And then she showed me Aretha Franklin. And there's this about like a 15 to 30 minute compilation. And I remember um, hearing her voice. And I just remember feeling something that I've never felt before. And literally in that moment, I knew what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And it was to be Aretha Franklin. That's literally like, and I would in no way say what I'm doing is in any way Aretha Franklin 2.0. I think it'd be offensive to try and compare what I do to the godliness of Aretha. But that was like the first thing that really inspired my love for music.
So you grew up in Texas
I did, yes.
and you had a music program in your school?
I originally did, and then I got cut.
Ugh, tell me what happened. Tell me about it and what happened.
I also like originally I used to move schools a lot. So like I lived in one school like area and I went to school there, and the music class was great. Like you got to play instruments and everything was awesome. I really loved the teacher. And then the teacher moved and then we got a new teacher, and I did not like this teacher as much, but they did teach me about scatting. And so that I can say she was pretty awesome for that. And then I moved to a different school. It was a bit of a smaller school, and they had like we had music, and then they took the music program out for acting. And it just made me really sad. Like I really loved music and I loved to use it as an outlet, and I loved singing, and it just brought joy in my day during school. And it just made me really sad to like see that go.
Wow. And it didn't deter you, though, from pursuing a career in music. I mean, you really seemed like you were very headstrong in that department. Tell us about like your teens and how you actually managed to sort of like squeak out the beginnings of a career.
I have always been very stubborn, even from a young age. If you tell me to do something and if I don't want to do it, you cannot make me do it. And so from a very young age, I knew like I knew that I wanted to do music, and I knew that's something that I wanted to do. And so I would tell people, I'd be like, I want to be Aretha Franklin when I grow up. And they're like, you're cute. And I'm like, excuse me? I'm like, I'm very serious. Or being like, I want to have a music career. And they're like, you can't do that. That's difficult. And I'm like, are you telling me I can't do something? Wait a minute, you know? Um, but I mean, it started out at 7. I started taking vocal lessons, and it was pretty simple. I'd go in once a week, an hour, learn something. And it started out very just like normal. Like they would have the parent, I keep wanting to call them conferences, but they're not. They're rehearsals. They're just like shows like that, like every kid.
Recitals?
Yeah, like a recital.
Got it.
And like you would sing like one song, and then you could maybe win a trophy. And I never did. I think I won a trophy for being the most like sassy one or something, probably like that. And then when I was 9, that's when I started learning guitar, and I just started going to different like vocal studios, and eventually I found one that started booking me gigs. And so I would sing anywhere anyone would let me. I would sing in farmers markets and rodeos and sheep sellers conventions and fencing tournaments. um, I've done like so many opera houses, even just like parking lots in the corner where nobody's paying attention to me, restaurants, barbecue restaurants, like literally anywhere anyone would let a 10-year-old play, I'd be there. And so I then started like learning guitar. And then when I was 10, that's when I started going to Nashville. And that's when I started learning about like songwriting and the art of like collaboration. And I love that. And that's when I kind of started really growing my craft of being a songwriter. And that's also when I discovered like writings rounds, like where it's like 3 to 4 people go on a stage and sing. So like one person sings, one person sings, one person sings, one person sings. And it, however long it leads up to an hour. And that's also where I really learned the art of performance and like the art of songwriting, because even I'd be in bars and I'd be like 12 being in this bar, but nobody came to the bar really, some places, but nobody really came to see music. Nobody came to see you. So figuring out what to say to get people to pay attention was always the most like the thing I was always trying to learn how to do, is how to get people to pay attention with how I sing or like how I say something, like what was the thing that was going to make people listen. And then when I was 14, that's when I met Kara.
Amazing. Did you ever try out for a TV talent show or a singing show?
Oh yeah, I did AGT. Like I auditioned for that for sure. The Voice I auditioned for so many times. Actually, I also auditioned for Kids Bop so many times. I wanted to be in Kids Bop so badly when I was a kid. It was like my everything I ever wanted. Literally, it was like Aretha, and then I was like Kids Bop. I don't know what it was, but actually, so I auditioned for The Voice when I was 14, and I actually made it to like the other rounds, but then they never sent me like a ticket. Like they said I made it, but then they never like gave me a date for me to like go to LA. And actually, if I would have like, or no, they did give me a date. They just never like got the ticket and all that. And so like, if I would have gone to LA and auditioned for The Voice and like done that, I actually would have never met Kara.
Wow.
It's so crazy to me.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, tell me about meeting Cara, because of course, Cara DioGuardi, aside from being a former American Idol judge, is a very successful songwriter in her own right, and she has a publishing company, and she's always been like way ahead of the curve when it comes to the business of songwriting and publishing. What was your sort of perception of meeting Cara, and like, did she ever sort of give you a different take on that first meeting? Describe that day for me.
Yeah, okay. So it was this random pop-up event. So basically like everybody got sent an email for like this event. And it was basically like Cara DioGuardi can critique your songs. 40 go and 20 get to sing. And my mom, within the first like 5 minutes, signed me up for it because she knew who Cara was. I knew who Cara was, but I didn't have this like, that kind of like came on a little bit later. And so we show up to this event and you go in, and I put my name in a hat. And so you literally go in, write your name down, put it in the hat, and then you sit down. And eventually Cara called my name, which was crazy. And it was like one of those events where like people who didn't sign up were going in and they had to get kicked out. Like it was this crazy like thing. And I was singing, and I remember it was one of the worst performances I've ever gave. Like truly, I was sick and I was like flat and I was pitchy and I was not enunciating and the song wasn't finished yet and I was nervous, and because I was 14, like I had no idea. I was just so scared, and I remember she really loved like my beating on things, and I remember thinking that like, okay, like she didn't hate me. And then a couple days later, she actually reached out to NSAI for my contact information, the people she helped set up the event with. And so then we got it. And I remember the first meeting, we had, because she told me to bring my favorite co-writer, who is my best friend, Sarah Davis. And I actually ended up writing ABC with her. But this was when I was 14 and she was 17. And so we show up to this meeting and there's a film crew there. And like, we got asked like 5 minutes before if we could, like, if there could be a film crew there. And we're like, sure, okay. And so then they're just filming us. And then I specifically remember they put a glass of water in front of us. And like, I sang Kara like 3 or 4 songs. And I just remember I drank all the water in my glass, but I kept forgetting that I would do that. So I nervously go to drink my water. Then I realized that I had no water. But then I also realized I was on camera. So I just like pretend to drink my water and put it back. And that was a cycle I repeated every like 5 to 10 minutes. And then eventually she set up a write with Pete Nappy, who actually ended up producing ABC, funny enough. And we wrote a song that day. It was not ABC. That took many years later. But I remember thinking like, I think on a scale of 1 to 10, this song is maybe a 6, but on Kara Guardi's scale, it's like a 2. Because I was so scared. Because there's a song called I Could Use Your Perfect Body. And I was like 14 with this like 17-year-old, and we're writing this song about sex and how I like wanted to use somebody's perfect body. And I didn't know how she was going to take that. And it was a very poppy song. And so I was just curious on what she was going to take. And I was like, nah, she's not going to like it. She's such a like songwriter. That's not going to be interesting to her. And I sent in the song and she offered me a deal 2 days later.
Amazing. Amazing. Okay. So tell me about the genesis of ABCDEFU, which is not only like a great earworm, but is such a great little play on syllables, you know, on the things that on something that is so familiar to you, and yet you twist it up so well. So tell me about the song. When did it sort of like, when were the seeds sown, and how did it become what it is today?
Yeah, I originally wrote ABC with Sarah Davis and Dave Pittenger in August of 2020. And it was a song where it honestly took us a while to find the production. Like it took us about solidly a little under a year to figure it out. And I also started posting ABC in like January of 2020. Or not even 2020, in 2021. Like I remember one of the first posts was like, hi, I wrote this song called ABC and ABCDEFU, and I don't know whether to be proud or disappointed. Or like, I remember I was like, I don't remember to be proud or like scared. And then like, I remember like 20 people saw that video or something. And I was like, damn, you know? But with ABC, there's alternative and rock leaning things about that song, but there's also a poppiness to that song. And to find a good combo between the two is kind of a difficult thing to do, to know like when it went more chill and where it could be more poppy and where it could be more rock, and trying to find those inspirations and fit it into one thing really took a long time. But then I eventually sent it to Pete Nappy, and we ended up finishing it out together. And it was so exciting to actually like finish it and like be done with it, because it took so long. But during the process of working on the production, this was even before we had the original, I was like, what if we just like do multiple versions of the same song? And my thought process behind that is like, as a writer, a song can be whatever you make it. You can make this thing out of thin air. And so like, and as an artist, it's your job to decide what direction you want that song to go in. Like I could have just released the angrier version to have that and that. I could have just released a chill version. I could have just released a demo. I could have just released the original, you know? And so I wanted to be indecisive and show all the lanes that ABC could have the possibility of being in. You know, we kind of found the original, and so it made it easier to kind of find the lane for the angrier version, because there's another version that had poppier elements that wasn't in there. But then it was also gave us the ability to also do the chill version, because there's things in the chill version that isn't in the angrier and the original version. In the demo, that's where the song started. That's where it was, you know, like we wrote this song on guitar in Nashville, and we had to take it to somewhere else. And I wanted to show that this is where we started and this is where we went, and it evolved to other things.
It was interesting to see you react to hearing it on the radio for the first time. Because how old are you now, Gail? You're 17?
I'm 17, yes.
Yeah, like I don't think of 17-year-olds as, people who listen to the radio necessarily. I feel like someone must have taught you about formats because the way that you're talking about the production of the song, it makes me think about, where it could be slotted. It's kind of like an old school way of thinking, especially since you had so much success with the song on social media or on TikTok, especially. So, where did you why are you excited about being on the radio?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I listened to the radio when I was a little kid. That was something that I grew up listening to. And I remember when I was listening to a song on the radio and it clicked to me that somebody had to make it, because like when you're younger, you don't understand the fact, like I was singing at the time, but I didn't know that those songs just don't exist. Like you have to make them out of thin air. And when I realized that, I was like, I want to do that and I want to get it on the radio. And then I went to actually write a song and I was like, this is a lot harder to do than I thought. Like you can't just like write a hit song. And so when I heard that and I made that connection is you have to make that thing to get it on the radio. I then just wanted to get a song on the radio because I was like, that is what I want to do. I want to make something out of thin air and then it can play in people's cars, you know? And so it wasn't even something where I thought about ABC being like, yeah, it's going to go on the radio. It's going to be huge on TikTok. It's going to be I literally just released a song because I hadn't released music in a year and was going to see what happened with it, set the baseline and figure out where to go from there. This was my first release through Atlantic. And just because like you have a record deal, that does not instantly equate to success or going viral. People have to genuinely like you and like the song to some extent. And so like, I didn't know if people are going to like me or the song. I didn't know. And so I wasn't sitting here being like, I want the radio, this song, this is it. But I also have always wanted a song on the radio since I was a little kid.
Got it. Got it. But it's not like, I think people, when they see a song that had popularity on TikTok, they think of it as an overnight success. But your story is not an overnight success. Like we're talking about, years of development here. Do you, see yourself in the same lane as these, like sort of TikTok born music stars?
It's like I don't really try and put myself in a lane that other people are in. I'm just trying to like do what I do. It was not a natural thing for me to like take a video of myself and like try and make it equal to my music. And like it was not a natural thing for me to like take pictures of myself and post it on Instagram and take videos of the music I'm making and how I make music and post it on TikTok. Like that was a very unnatural thing for me for a really long time. And it's still something that I'm getting used to because I did all of this because I love music. I had an undying passion and love for music, and I couldn't imagine myself doing anything else in this world. I knew I wouldn't be happy unless I was doing music. And so to do music and to be able to like have a platform to show yourself and show off the music you're making, social media can be a great way to do that. And it was a very awkward thing for me to figure out how to do, but I was trying my best to do my own version of that. But I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm like a TikToker. Like I am technically a TikToker because I make TikToks, but it wasn't something like I knew how to do. And it wasn't something that like inspired me to make music. And I never have made songs for TikTok. Like I wasn't writing ABC so it can like do this thing on TikTok, Am I very grateful that I did its thing on TikTok? Of course, I'm never going to complain about that. That's amazing. And I'm so grateful. But it wasn't necessarily something that I was like thinking of when making music.
But the whole like conceit of ABCDEFU is like anyone can relate to that. It's just such a like brilliant, like I said, like a turn of, it's not even a turn of phrase, it's like a turn of a syllable. Do you remember that moment that came to you? The FU part?
I just remember in the room after we wrote the chorus, because we wrote the pre first. And it was one of those things where like it took us a second to figure it out because we kind of roughly had the like ABCDEFU, ABCDE, fuck off, fuck you, or like messing around with it. And like to figure out how to make the chorus a big a bigger poppy chorus without also being this super like cheesy thing. Like it took us a second to kind of figure out something that we liked and where to like make sure it kept going up instead of it just falling flat on the chorus. And we did the pre first, and so then when it like led into the chorus, and especially because like the melodies kind of came separate, so it's like the pre came and then we had the da 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 da, and then where to take it took a second to kind of like put it together. But once we figured it out, the excitement in the room, because we were getting pissed off, we were getting pissed that we couldn't figure it out, and maybe that's what helped us write the chorus, because we're like, what is this, like what is we gonna do? But then we figured it out, and that was so exciting. That was such an exciting time. And it also took us forever to write the verse because we then loved the pre and chorus so much. We're like, how do we lead into this? Because also ABC didn't originally start with the chorus. That was actually like a version that came with Pete Nappy's version. That was like an idea that took so many versions for that idea to pop up. And so it was like, to keep people interested enough to listen to the verse and the pre without even hearing the chorus. And then we just ended up starting the song with the chorus.
I think sparing the dog is another like hook to that song, you know, because it could just be like the rantings of a, you know, of a madman kind of thing. But as soon as you say that, it humanizes the emotions, you know. It's like you really tap into a lot of things with that song. It's really, really amazing. Tell us about getting signed to Atlantic. Like how did that happen? I assume it came through Kara, because Arthouse has a deal at Atlantic, but you know, how did that come about?
Yeah, I mean, for a solid year from like 15, like from the songs that I released of like Dumbass, Z, Happy for You, Orange Peel, the remix of Happy for You, remix for Dumbass, just two of them, those were independent releases. So I had like a publishing deal through Arthouse, and then also like technically a development deal, but it wasn't connected to a label, so it's like considered an independent release. And we had no money for marketing or anything. I was just kind of like writing music and putting it out. And Kara has always been like a really strong mentor to me, and what I love is that she never did anything for me, you know. Like it wasn't like I would give her this verse and then she'd rewrite it for me because she didn't like it. She would tell me what I did wrong to make sure I never write a verse that fucking stupid again, you know. Like she is absolutely no bullshit, and that's something I've always really appreciated about her. She was sending my music to Atlantic, and they were aware of who I was, but they weren't necessarily like helping out. I ended up signing the deal in 2021, and that's when it ended up being like official. And that's when ABC, like it was the first release of ABC was through Atlantic. And even when they like offered me the deal, I was so surprised because I wanted to be with Atlantic since I was 12, even before Kara, just because that's Aretha Franklin's label. And then also like later on, when I believe I was like 14 or 15, I also really wanted to because of Lizzo, to like her album. I just absolutely loved it. And I loved her confidence, and I love the way they were pushing her as an artist, and her branding, and her message overall is just something I really loved. And so it was one of those things where they definitely knew who I was, but they weren't necessarily like helping a bunch until I wrote ABC before they even like offered me the deal. So
Interesting. I mean, it really is, the timing couldn't be better. You know, from Olivia Rodrigo to, you know, Good for You is another one of those sort of like rock leaning pop songs. Avril Lavigne, like, you know, guitars are back, you know, and you know, like sort of, you know, proclaiming, declaring something, yelling, screaming, whatever it is, getting those emotions out is definitely like, I don't know, with the pandemic, it just seems like the timing and everything sort of aligned for this song. Is it accurate? You actually have chromesthesia, which is like seeing music as colors?
I do. Yes, I do. Actually, with the single covers of like ABC, the alternate versions is what the colors are of the song.
Excellent. So ABC is red, correct?
Yeah, ABC was red, and then it went to the demo was green, and then the chill version was purple, And then the Wild remix was blue. And then the Roy and the Serpent version was pink. And then the Angrier version was also red. The original, I will say, it was not black, it was red. But then it just kind of worked better for the single cover to be black and then the Angrier version to be red. So
What about your new single, You're Just Horny? What song is that? What color is that?
it's the same as the single cover, it's orange.
Oh, okay, gotcha, gotcha. Tell me about that new song because it comes out like this week.
Yeah, it comes out at 11 CT tomorrow, actually.
Amazing.
Um, oh, oh my gosh, it's so exciting to just be releasing music. And I've released the same song 7 times, and I know some people have gotten sick of it probably, but I'm just excited to be releasing another song. Basically, this song is still like it's still staying in the angry lane, but it's about a different person and it's like different sides of being angry. I was friends with somebody for a really long time and we slept together. And it was one of those things where I thought our friendship was strong enough for it to be like almost like an inside joke, like a bit of the like, haha, remember the time you saw me naked? Ha, you know? But I started catching him in lies, like little, like just super like subtle lies. I started catching him in, and he started being like super snarky to me, and he just like would do things that he just would never do before. And I kind of realized that everything he did that made me feel comfortable enough to like do that with him and made me comfortable enough in our friendship to make me think that it would still be okay after we did that was literally all just an act to get into my pants. And I felt like a trophy, like the fact that like I this conquest, and then once he got it, I didn't matter to him anymore. And
Wow.
that hurt because I thought he was the type of friend that would never make me feel that way. And even it's with romantic and sexual and platonic feelings, like the lines can get blurry, especially when you're growing up. And when you're 12, you're like, oh, they're cute. But when you're like 16, 17, 18, like you're getting older and you might have more experience, like being attracted to somebody can mean different things than when you're 12 compared to when you're 17, And so there's a difference between a friends with benefits and sleeping with a friend. And you can really get your feelings hurt and you can hurt other people's feelings. And You're Just Horny was me holding him accountable for his actions and allowing myself to be angry because I was so hurt and I felt so used and I felt so just taken advantage. I felt like our friendship was just taken advantage of. So yeah, I just got pissed.
We should probably clarify that the song was released on Wednesday, January 19th. So we are just hot off the presses on that one. Um, I imagine some of the people watching are probably getting started, looking to break into music, maybe feeling some frustration, some anger, some red colored anger. Do you have any advice for someone who's looking to you, to sort of set the path for them to walk down?
The biggest thing that I could even just say in advice, and I feel like just in general for any career type that you want to do, but it's not easy being in the music industry. It is not an easy thing. Especially being a kid in the music industry and growing up in the music industry was not an easy thing. And people are going to want to think everything is possibly just given to you, but you have to work for every single thing you do. And it is not an easy thing and it's really difficult. But who cares? Who cares if it's hard to do? Because you know what? You love it and that's what matters. And even if you fail, at least you know that you did everything that you possibly could to make your dreams happen. And that's what matters. That's what matters, is to know that you tried. Because for me personally, I never want to look back. I'd rather regret things I've done than things I haven't done. And it's not easy. It is not going to be an easy thing. There's going to be nights that you want to quit, but you just have to ask yourself, how badly do you want this? How badly do you want to be able to do this? And that's what matters.
Words to live by, everybody. Gayle, thank you so much for being here with us and for sharing your story. And, good luck with the new music. And we can't wait to see what else is going to come.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited and just very honored to be here.